like to. So I'm going to sweep up a few other matters before I hand over to Paul to cover some of the financing initiatives that are in place. I'll cover these reasonably quickly because they're mostly straightforward, and hopefully a number of you will have come across them already. So firstly, as happened back in the financial crash of 2008, the first sort of bit of help given back then, and it's the same now, is the UK Tax Authority have said they will allow deferment of tax payments. This was launched back in March 2020, so the 11th of March, our budget day, and you can call up as a business and ask for deferment of your corporation tax, VAT, or your payroll taxes, your PAYE taxes. The number is given there. It's a free phone number. The waiting time at the very peak was creeping up to around 2 hours before you could speak to somebody. So I'm not sure what the waiting time is now. It may have gone down a little now the original peak has passed. There is on the Institute of Chartered Accountants website, I've just given a link there. There's a really good list of tips of things that you should be considering before you call this hotline, to have at hand and to be ready to agree the best possible deferment terms with the revenue. So do have a look at that. Now, for VAT, which for most businesses is a quarterly payment, although some larger businesses may pay monthly, the deferral is automatic. So for the VAT payment due from a business between the 20th of March and the 30th of June, you've got the ability or the choice to defer that payment until the 31st of March 2021. Now, this is an automatic deferment. You can choose to take it or you can choose not to. If you choose not to, you'll just pay your VAT as normal. If you choose to take it, you do not need to seek any approval. You just do not pay your VAT. If your VAT is collected by direct debit, then you must cancel that, because the tax authority will collect your VAT unless you cancel the direct debit and show them that you're relying on the deferment. During the period that you've deferred your VAT, you must, of course, continue to submit your VAT returns, and provided you bring everything up to date by March 2021, there's no interest or penalties on the amounts deferred. There's a second automatic deferral, which is probably less relevant to the people on this call, which is for individuals who would normally be due to make a payment on account towards their personal taxes by the 31st of July. There's another automatic deferment there, applies until January 2021, but that would normally be for individuals who are filing tax returns in the UK and have liabilities, which often won't be the case with secondees or Indians working temporarily in the UK, but be aware that exists as well. We have in the UK one of the big burdens on businesses, business rates. So if you occupy business premises, as well as paying your landlord rent, you will also pay your local authority business rates, which is the amount you pay towards the services you receive, such as rubbish collection and street lights and that sort of thing. The government introduced some measure of relief there. The detail is quite complicated, so I reduced it to this flow chart for those who can see that on the screen. And the help they've given is fairly limited. So first of all, if you're paying or if you're in business premises in the UK, you should first check whether you're eligible for small business rates relief. You'll be eligible for that relief if the rateable value of your property is less than £15,000. Now, the rateable value of properties has very little logic, so even if you're in quite a big office, it's still worth checking what the rateable value is. There's a website I've given on the slide, which the slides will be circulated later, but you can put your postcode in and select your office address, and it will tell you whether your rateable value is greater than or less than £15,000. If your rateable value is less than £15,000, your local authority will be paying you a £10,000 grant. That's a grant, not a loan. It's a payment that's yours to help you meet your costs during this period. If you're eligible for this, you may have already received it, because I've certainly had clients who've received it already. If you're not eligible for small business rates relief, then things get to be fairly limited fairly quickly. The only other grants are available if you operate in the leisure, hospitality or retail sector. So if you don't, and I would guess most people on this seminar are software services businesses, so you would not qualify as leisure, hospitality or retail, so there's no further grants available. In the event that you are in leisure, hospitality or retail, if you're a restaurant or a hotel, then you can have 100% relief for business rates in the current tax year, and there's also a grant of £25,000 payable to you if the rateable value of your premises is less than £51,000. So the two grants, one for 10,000, one for 25,000, really only eligible to small businesses or businesses that are in leisure, hospitality and retail. Now, as of just a couple of days ago, I think this was over the weekend, there was an announcement of further grants, and this is to prioritise small businesses in shared spaces. Now, what I think that's intended to mean, pretty much the contents of this slide are all the details we have on this so far, but businesses in shared spaces, I think they're talking about businesses that are in places like WeWork or other shared workspaces. Those businesses are possibly in serviced offices as well. Those businesses often won't be paying business rates because the business rates are paid by their landlord, and all they do is they pay a fee to their landlord, and therefore they are not entitled to grants. Those businesses may now be eligible to grants of up to £25,000, but we're expecting more detail on this later this week, so we'll circulate something if I think it's relevant to this sector. Self-employed I'll cover ever so quickly because it's not going to be relevant to many people on the seminar. If an individual is self-employed, so this is an individual operating in their own name as a self-employed consultant, they can benefit from the self-employed income support scheme, which is quite similar to the furlough scheme. It will pay a maximum of £2,500 per month or 80% of their trading profits. I'm not going to go through the detail. The detail is on the slides. If anybody would like details on it, do just drop a line to me through the chat or an email afterwards and I can give you all the details. But it's only to people who are self-employed in their own name. It doesn't apply to people who are self-employed but trading through a limited company. So if you own a limited company and you provide consulting services through that limited company, you are not self-employed for this purpose and will not benefit under this scheme. And that's one of the big criticisms of it. So I'm going to skip through a couple of slides there, and I think we then get on to Paul, who's going to